My girlfriend laughed. "You're not ambitious enough for me." I said, "You're probably right." 6 months later, she applied for a job at my company, and I was the one reviewing her resume. Original post. I, 28 male, had been with Harper, 27, for just over 3 years. We met at a local street festival in Austin, Texas. I was standing in line for a food truck that sold weird waffle creations, and she was in front of me, complaining loudly to her friend about the heat. I offered to buy her a waffle if she stopped complaining. She laughed, and we ended up talking for 3 hours. Things were really good for the first 2 years. We moved into a small, slightly drafty apartment in the North Loop area. It wasn't much, but it was ours. We spent weekends hiking the Greenbelt or trying to find the best cheap tacos in town. She worked as an assistant manager at a boutique clothing store downtown, and I was doing data entry for a mid-sized logistics company. About 6 months ago, things started to change. Harper got a promotion at the boutique. She was suddenly the store manager, making a bit more money, and her whole attitude shifted. She started talking a lot about hustle culture and building a brand. She started following all these influencers who posted pictures of expensive cars and vacations in Dubai. I was still doing my data entry job. It wasn't glamorous. I wasn't saving the world, but it paid the rent, the benefits were okay, and I liked my coworkers. I went to work, did my job, and came home. I was comfortable. Harper started making little comments. She'd ask why I wasn't taking night classes to get a master's degree. She'd point out guys we saw driving nice cars and say things like, "Must be nice to have someone who knows how to make real money." I usually just brushed it off. I told her I was happy where I was for now, and that we were doing okay. We could pay our bills, we went out when we wanted to, we weren't struggling. Then came the dinner party. It was a Friday night. Harper had invited a couple she had met at some young professionals networking event. The guy, Bryce, worked in real estate, and the girl, Qley, was a social media manager. They were exhausting. They talked loudly about their portfolios and their 5-year monetization strategies. Bryce looked at me across our small dining table, swishing his wine around in his glass. "So, what are you doing to leverage your position at the logistics firm? Are you aiming for a regional director spot soon?" I laughed a little. "No, not really. I just do the data management. It's steady work." Harper let out this short, sharp laugh. It didn't sound happy. It sounded mean. "Steady work," she repeated, rolling her eyes. She looked at Bryce and Qley. "He's just not ambitious enough for me. He's perfectly fine being average." The table went dead silent. Even Bryce looked a little uncomfortable. I felt my face get hot. I looked at Harper, waiting for her to say she was joking. She wasn't. She was looking at me with this mix of pity and annoyance. I put my fork down. I looked right at her. "You're probably right," I said quietly. I didn't say anything else for the rest of the dinner. When Bryce and Qley finally left, Harper turned to me, ready for a fight. "Don't look at me like that," she said, crossing her arms. "I was just being honest. You never want to do anything more. You're just stuck." "I'm not stuck," I said. "I'm content." "But clearly, you're not." That weekend, we broke up. It wasn't screaming and throwing things. It was just cold. She packed up her expensive new clothes and her self-help books and moved in with her friend, the one she was complaining to when we met. She told me as she was leaving, "I just need someone who matches my drive. No hard feelings." I was hurt, obviously. 3 years is a long time. But mostly, I was angry. I was angry that she made me feel small in my own home. The thing Harper didn't know, the thing I hadn't told her because she stopped asking about my work months ago, was that my company had been going through a massive restructuring. The logistics firm had been bought out by a major tech supply chain company based in Seattle. They were revamping everything. Because I knew the old data system inside and out, the new transition team asked me to help them migrate the files. I spent 2 months working directly with the new VP of operations, a guy named Marcus. Marcus liked that I knew where every single piece of information was buried. When the transition was done, Marcus called me into his temporary office. He offered me a new position, regional systems analyst. It came with a completely new salary bracket. It was a huge jump. I took it immediately. For the last 6 months, I've been busy. I moved out of the drafty apartment and got a nicer place in the Mueller neighborhood. I bought a new truck. Not a flashy sports car, but a really nice, reliable truck. I was doing well. I hadn't heard from Harper since the day she moved out. Until yesterday. My company is expanding our local office. We've been hiring a lot of administrative and support staff. Because I handle the systems they will be using, Marcus asked me to sit in on the hiring committee to review resumes and help with the second-round interviews. I was sitting at my desk, drinking coffee, flipping through a stack of printed resumes for the new office operations coordinator position. It's basically a glorified office manager job. I turned a page, and there it was. Harper Davies. I blinked, thinking I was reading it wrong. But no, there was her phone number. There was her email address. I read through her resume. Under her current experience, she listed the boutique store manager job, but it said her employment ended 3 months ago. She was currently unemployed. I sat back in my chair. Harper, the girl who dumped me because I wasn't ambitious enough, who wanted someone who matched her drive, was applying for an entry-level coordinator job at the company where I was now a senior analyst. I stared at the paper for a long time. The hiring committee is meeting tomorrow to select the candidates for interviews. I have a very strong voice in this committee. Marcus trusts my judgment on who will fit the team. I haven't decided what to do yet. Part of me wants to just toss her resume in the trash and move on. The other part of me, the petty part, wants to bring her in for an interview. I want to sit across that table, in my nice suit, in my nice office, and ask her where she sees herself in 5 years. I'll update after the committee meeting tomorrow. Update 1. Okay, so the hiring committee met today. It was me, Marcus, and Sarah from HR. We were sitting in the big glass conference room. We had a stack of about 20 resumes that had made it past the initial HR screening, and we needed to narrow it down to 5 people to bring in for in-person interviews next week. Sarah went through the first few candidates. They were fine. Normal qualifications. Then she pulled up the next one. All right, next is Harper Davies, Sarah said, tapping her pen on the table. She was managing a retail store for the last 2 years, but she's been out of work for a few months. Her customer service skills look good, though. What do you guys think? Marcus looked over the digital copy on his tablet. Seems a little light on corporate office experience. Retail management is tough, but it's a different beast than managing a corporate supply chain office. I had my printed copy of her resume in front of me. I looked at the name. I thought about that dinner party. I thought about the way she laughed at me in front of those awful people. Actually, I said, leaning forward. My voice was very calm. I think we should bring her in. Marcus looked at me, surprised. Really? You see something here? I think, I said carefully, that sometimes retail management requires a lot of ambition. You have to deal with difficult people and manage expectations. It might be worth seeing how she handles herself in a professional setting. We need someone who can handle pressure. Sarah nodded. Fair point. Let's put her in the yes pile for interviews. So it's done. Harper Davies is coming in for an interview next Tuesday at 10 a.m. I immediately went back to my office and checked the schedule. Sarah handles the calendar invites. She sent out the emails to the candidates an hour later. The interview panel will be Sarah and me. Marcus has a conflict and can't make the morning sessions. I don't think Harper knows I work here. When we were dating, the company had a different name, Texas Freight and Logistics. When the Seattle company bought us out, they changed the name to Apex Supply Solutions. To her, this is just a completely new, big corporate company she's applying to. She has no idea I'm the one sitting on the other side of that table. I spent most of the afternoon trying to decide what to wear on Tuesday. I usually wear business casual, slacks, and a button-down. But for Tuesday, I went out after work and bought a very nice, very sharp, dark blue suit. I want to make sure I look the part. I'm nervous, but I'm also really looking forward to it. I wonder if she still thinks I'm not ambitious enough. I'll let you guys know how it goes on Tuesday. Update 2. The interview was today. I am still processing it, to be honest. I got to work early. I put on the new dark blue suit, made sure my hair looked good, and drank about 3 cups of coffee. I reserved the nice corner conference room with the big windows looking out over the city. Sarah and I sat at the head of the large oak table. At exactly 9:55 a.m., the receptionist messaged Sarah to say Harper Davies had arrived. Okay, let's bring her in, Sarah said. The door opened. Harper walked in. She was wearing a very professional gray skirt suit. She had a leather portfolio tucked under her arm. She looked nervous but determined. She was looking at Sarah first, putting on a big, professional smile. Hi, I'm Harper Davies. Thank you so much for. Then she turned her head and saw me. It was like watching a computer freeze. Her mouth actually dropped open slightly. She stopped walking mid-step. The color completely drained from her face, and then rushed back in a bright, blotchy red. She gripped her portfolio so hard her knuckles turned white. I didn't smile. I just looked at her, completely blank. "Please, take a seat, Harper," I said. My voice sounded very deep and calm in the quiet room. She swallowed hard. She looked like she wanted to turn around and run out the door, but Sarah was watching her, looking a little confused by the sudden pause. Harper forced her feet to move and sat down in the chair across from us. "It's nice to meet you, Harper," Sarah said cheerfully, totally unaware of the tension. "I'm Sarah from HR, and this is our regional systems analyst, who will be closely working with this role." Harper looked at me. "Analyst," she whispered. "Yes," I said, folding my hands on the table. "I've been quite busy lately." Moving up, she looked down at her hands. Sarah started the interview. She asked the standard HR questions: strengths, weaknesses, why she left her last job. Harper struggled. She was stumbling over her words. She kept glancing at me, waiting for me to say something mean. But I just took notes on my legal pad. When it was my turn to ask questions, I leaned back in my chair. "So, Harper," I started, "this role requires a lot of dedication. It's not just a clock-in, clock-out situation. We need someone who is driven, someone who wants to build something here." I paused and looked her right in the eye. "Would you say you are an ambitious person?" She flinched. She knew exactly what I was doing. "Ah, yes, I am," she managed to say. Her voice was shaking a little. "I'm very driven." "That's good," I said smoothly, "because we really don't have room for people who are just comfortable being average. We need people who match our drive." She closed her eyes for a second. It was brutal, and honestly, it felt amazing. "I see here on your resume," I continued, tapping the paper, "that you left your boutique management job 3 months ago. Can you explain the gap in your employment?" She looked miserable. The store closed," she admitted quietly. "The owner went bankrupt. I was let go." "I see," I said. "And what have you been doing to leverage your position since then? Any 5-year monetization strategies in the works?" Sarah looked at me, frowning slightly at the odd phrasing, but Harper understood perfectly. She looked like she was going to cry. "I've just been looking for work," she said softly. I asked a few more standard questions, keeping my tone perfectly professional but cold. When the interview was over, she stood up quickly. She didn't offer to shake my hand. She practically ran out of the room. Sarah looked at me after the door closed. "Well, that was strange. She seemed really nervous. I don't think she's a good fit. Too timid." "I agree," I said, putting a neat line through her name on my list. "Not a good fit at all. I'll post a final update when they make the official hiring decision, but I think we all know how this ends." Final update. It's been a week since the interview. Yesterday, Sarah and I finalized the decision. We ended up hiring a woman named Maria who had 5 years of solid office management experience and didn't freeze up when asked a simple question. She starts next Monday. Sarah sent out the standard, "Thank you for your time," but we went with another candidate, emails to everyone else, including Harper. I thought that would be the end of it. I felt satisfied. I got my closure, I got my revenge, and I was ready to move on. But last night, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number, but I recognized the area code. It was Harper. The text read, "You did that on purpose, didn't you? You brought me in just to humiliate me." I stared at the screen. I thought about ignoring it. But then I typed out my reply. "I brought you in because your resume was in the pile. You humiliated yourself because you realized you threw away a good thing for a fantasy that didn't exist. I hope you find someone ambitious enough for you." I hit send. Then I blocked her number. I woke up this morning feeling incredibly light. I drove to work in my nice truck, walked into my nice office, and started my day. I'm doing great. I'm excelling at my job, I'm making good money, and I have peace in my life. Harper wanted someone who looked successful on the outside, even if they were miserable on the inside. She got exactly what she asked for. She got to see what real ambition looks like from the other side of the interview table. I learned a lot from this whole experience. I learned that being content isn't a bad thing, but also that I am capable of a lot more than I gave myself credit for. It just took the right environment and a little bit of spite to push me there. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting with the VP to discuss the new software rollout. Things are looking pretty steady.